we are not giving up on that. So, to sum it up, from a design perspective, I'm sure you guys are loving what you saw. The Aura design, an all-new philosophy. You've got an immersive 6.3-inch dot-notch display with an all-new aspect ratio of 19.5:9. You have a LTPS in-cell screen. Again, improved thermals, improved battery efficiency. You're pushing it all the way to the edges, smaller bezels. You've got a Corning Gorilla Glass 5, both at the front and the back. It's a 2.5D glass that merges in with the frame. And of course, that beautiful 6-layer gradient finish. And it's still a Redmi Note. It is as practical as ever before. Uh, it's got the headphone jack, it's still got the IR remote control, and the all-new Type-C. Now moving to the next section, and this is something that the Redmi Note series has always been known for. We've broken that entire segment time and again in terms of how the Redmi Note has performed. And of course, talking about that, let's get into the performance part. And this, of course, is, we know, incredibly important to all our Mi fans, right? No? Okay, so before I get into the performance part of it, I'll recap. So we talked about this last time as well. When we are selecting a processor, we look at three key things. Can it run all the apps and games smoothly? Does it have great thermals? And of course, it's a Note, it has to give great battery life. So for kind of ticking all these boxes, I would like to introduce to you, on the Redmi Note 7 Pro, we are going to use the Qualcomm Snapdragon 625. Okay. So we really wanted to. Obviously, 625 has been Manu's favorite processor for 2 years. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks back, we had a little incident. In Andhra Pradesh, one truck, which was surprisingly carrying all our 625 chips, got stolen. So because we lost all our 625s, with the Redmi Note 7, we are bringing in an all-new processor. This processor is absolutely amazing. On Antutu, this clocks in at a whopping 1.8 lakhs. Trust me, nobody has seen a performance like this in this segment before. In fact, when we compared the Redmi Note 7 Pro with the previous generation Redmi Note 6 Pro, we have 155% the performance of the predecessor. It's a massive jump. Not just from a benchmark score perspective. We tested it time and again internally. Almost everything that you run runs a lot faster. You see faster web browsing, game launches, social media launches, almost everything is much, much faster on the Note 7 Pro. So these were benchmarks and these were comparisons. So we decided to go a step further. And we said, let's compare it with some really powerful devices out there. And where does it stand? So we decided to compare it with the Qualcomm 710. And versus the 710, the Redmi Note 7 Pro is almost 17% faster. There's another 710, which is not actually the real one. That obviously is much slower, but we'll get to that a little later. So, what we did was, this was Antutu. How about some other tests, like single core tests and multi-core tests? So we also went to Geekbench and looked at that. So both single core, multi-core, of course you've seen Antutu, it turned out to be the fastest device that was there. And of course we've seen the Oppo R17 Pro that does run Snapdragon 710 retails for about 46,000 rupees. And the Note 7 Pro beats it by a healthy margin. Why is that? Because Redmi Note 7 Pro's processor uses the latest Cryo 460 architecture. Now this uses the same ARM A76 cores as the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855. It is a truly powerful chip. And this chip that we're using on the Redmi Note 7 Pro is none other than an absolute phenomenal chip running on the Cryo 460 architecture. It's an 11 nanometer FinFET process. So it's not just more powerful, but it's also a lot more efficient. And yes, it is an octa-core chip. We're going to dive a little deeper. Okay. Now, as you saw, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 675 is a 11 nanometer, based on the 11 nanometer FinFET technology. It uses the latest Cryo 460 architecture, and it is a 8-core processor. With the 11 nanometer chipset or the process technology, you get better thermal, you get better power consumption, and because of all of this, you're able to push the entire performance to a whole new level on the 675. Not just that, when we dive a little deeper to find out why it's so powerful, let's look at how the CPU works. And in the Cryo 460 CPU, you've got 2 gold cores running ARM's A76. Now these are super performance cores. And then along with that, you've got 6 silver cores which are run on ARM's A55 architecture. Now both of these are powerful, but the gold cores do the major heavy lifting. So all your games, your heavy 3D applications are in the gold cores, while the silver ones are for your day-to-day performance. So whether it's social media apps, whether you're listening to music, whether you're browsing, these silver cores step in there. But not just that. Obviously, we are also interested in gaming. And there we've got an all-new Adreno 612 GPU. And this GPU, when combined with the gold cores of the Cryo 460 CPU, take gaming all the way to the next level. Lesser frame drops, but also an overall smoother gameplay. It's absolutely amazing, and we've tested this amongst all the latest games. A few of us got chicken dinners as well. The next part of this amazing chip is the Spectra ISP. Now this obviously is incredibly important because this has been engineered to support a 48 megapixel camera, right? And of course, you remember our tagline. Not just the 48 MP camera, but it also has better depth sensing, and a hint for a later slide, it also supports 4K video capture. And the last part that I want to talk about here is it comes with an all-new DSP, the Hexagon 685, which has much better AI processing, and hence that also adds further to your camera experience. Overall, this makes the Snapdragon 675 SoC, which is, as you saw, really powerful. And I'll just move to the next one. And we've combined this with up to 6 GB of LPDDR4X. Now we know LPDDR4X is the fastest RAM available for mobile phones right now, and you get that on the Note 7 Pro. Not just that, but for the first time ever on a Redmi Note series, we are also introducing a 128 GB storage variant. Now, you combine this, you've got a super powerful Cryo 460 CPU, an all-new Adreno 612 GPU, and up to 6 GB of DDR4X RAM. You've got an amazing gaming machine right in your hands. But that's the hardware part. we've also made optimizations when it comes to software. In fact, we are running MIUI 10 based on Android Pie, and from a performance point alone, there are more than 20 different optimizations that have been done. But just to highlight a few, uh, from a lock-free critical path and code-dependent prioritization, it's able to run everything a lot more smoothly and push this entire system to a whole new level. Now, it is a Note, and you've got so much power, so it has to have a noteworthy battery. And the Note 7 Pro comes with a 4000 mAh battery that easily lasts you 2 days on a single charge. And when you deep dive, it's almost 45 hours of 4G calling time if you were to call someone that long. Or what's really important and what I really care about as well, about 8.5 hours of gaming. Now this is absolutely incredible. Now this is a big battery and it's a powerful phone, and we are saying that it's great for gaming. What you do need is when the battery goes down, you need to charge it up quickly, right? For that, again, first for the Redmi Note series, you got Quick Charge 4. So, to sum it up, you've got the incredibly powerful Snapdragon 675 built on the Cryo 460 CPU. It has an Adreno 612 GPU, perfect for those heavy games. You've got MIUI 10 with Android Pie and bringing you all those optimizations and overall a smoother experience. Up to 6 GB of DDR4X RAM and 128 GB of storage. And of course, the Spectra 250L ISP. It's an all-new ISP required for a massive camera. And with that, let's get into the most exciting part, the camera. Now, the camera on the Note 7 Pro is a combination of a 48 megapixel camera, and that's the primary camera. And along with that 48, you have a 5 megapixel depth sensor for those amazing portrait shots. Now this 48 MP camera has probably generated a lot more buzz than any of our features ever before. In fact, when I think about 4 weeks back is when we first talked about the fact that 48 MP is coming, we have got thousands and thousands of questions, comments from a lot of our Mi fans as well, asking various aspects or various details. A lot of them wanted to know multiple aspects. So we've just taken some of those and put them here. So for example, Ashu wanted to know if this 48 megapixel was actually a real camera or is just software based. Or one of our very close fans who take a lot of inspiration from us, Madhav, wanted to compare it with a 13 megapixel sensor from the previous generation. So we will do that as well. And then Arijit wanted to know if the processor can actually support anything more than 24 megapixel. Well, we've answered the last question. So we know that the new ISP can handle 48 megapixel. But let's look at the other two. So on the Redmi Note 7 Pro, the camera that you get is a 48 megapixel camera. And the sensor that you get is the okay, so we've decided to use the highest resolution sensor available on any smartphone, period. It is an absolutely amazing sensor. It changes mobile photography forever.